guys, and welcome to Thirsty Thursdays with a Therapist. Thanks for joining me, Jaleisha Gatling, a therapist here in New York City, working with people to help them unpack the baggage that gets in between their relationships. Today's topic on quenching the thirst in your relationship is the cheater in you. I'm not talking about the sort of cheater that we normally think of when we hear that word. I'm not talking about having an affair, about stepping out on your partner, or breaking your vows. I'm not talking about that sort of infidelity. I'm talking about self-betrayal. Talking about when we so often are cheating on ourselves and are so not aware of it. I want to talk about self-betrayal. What are some ways that we betray ourselves on a constant basis that we completely overlook? I'll give you a personal example. I know that I myself cheated on myself for an entire year, the first year that I moved to New York, by working this miserable 9-to-5 job that made me want to pull my hair out on a daily basis. I dreaded it. I was miserable. It was hard enough adjusting to a new city, didn't have any friends or anybody up here that I knew, was completely on my own. And I stuck at this job for a whole year that literally made me want to lay in traffic some days. Okay, I shouldn't say that. That's dramatic, but it was pretty bad. When you stay in a situation, whether that be a relationship or a job or maybe even a friendship that is becoming really toxic and draining to you more than it is fulfilling and feeding you, you are in essence cheating on yourself. Now you can blame external things. You can blame your boss, you can blame your partner, you can blame your mom, you can blame your friend, but you are a part of that dynamic where you stay in the relationship, where you continue to show up at that job, where you continue to stay late when you stayed late the past 3 nights and you're completely exhausted. You know, I mean, sometimes it comes down to not necessarily leaving a relationship or changing your job or career, but it's a matter of setting healthy, firmer boundaries. I mean, we so often betray ourselves simply by stifling our voice, like simply by not speaking up, by not acknowledging your needs, and by not making them known, by not standing up for yourself, by not saying no more often. Those are all ways that we betray ourselves. And so you have to be really specific with what it is that you may be doing or not doing that's contributing to you being unhappy at your job, or not looking forward to meeting up with this friend, or not enjoying yourself or feeling fulfilled in your relationship. What is it, or where is it that you may need to step it up? Where do you need to find your voice? Sometimes that's a matter of kind of going the other flip side of betraying yourself. And I know that sounds probably like a really heavy way of describing it, but I think it's really, really similar to infidelity when we think about it in terms of cheating on a partner. We are cheating on ourselves left and right through things that we agree to that are not in alignment with our values, that did not meet our needs, that cause us to essentially neglect ourselves. And so that's what I want you guys to think about. What ways might you be cheating on yourselves? What ways might you be neglecting some of your very core needs? Is it a matter of you simply speaking up and embracing yourself for the fact that maybe the person on the other end may not accept it, may not be able to receive it? And can you be okay owning your truth, putting it out there, and not have that solely depend on the other person agreeing with that or being okay with it? That's really the hard part for a lot of people. Now, I want to continue this conversation and talking about what are the different ways, what are the different elements in society and culture that help us to betray ourselves, that make it so difficult to step up, to find our voice, and to speak our truth. What are the different things that make it so hard within our families, our friends, society, that help us to stay stuck? I want to acknowledge those pieces. That's not to blame or to justify, but I want us to take into account why it is so hard for us to find our voice and so easy for us to put our needs on the back burner. And I want to talk about that with you guys next week because it's very, very relevant to a workshop that I'm doing in September that's called Sexpectations. I'll tell you more about that next week. I'm actually going to have my first guest on Thirsty Thursdays next week, a very dear, dear colleague of mine who is also facilitating this workshop with me on Sexpectations. And it's very, very relevant to self-betrayal and different ways that parts of community and society impact how we experience ourselves and how we can sometimes be very conflicted with how we want to live versus how we're supposed to live. We're going to talk about a lot of shoulds next week. So you guys make sure you stay tuned for that, and also make sure that you check out my latest blog, The Cheater in You, where you guys can get a more extensive view of what I'm talking about today. I'll see you guys next week on Thirsty Thursdays with a Therapist. Bye.